So the first thing I needed to do was to look for a pattern. And which book was I going to use? Which pattern was I going to use? I found this very pretty one from 1735 to 1750. This is the pattern, and it's from Patterns of Fashion by Janet Arnold, who taught me at college. And I thought this was lovely. Then I also found this one because I really like the open front, and I believe that closing this up and not having any lacing at the back is also okay to do. And this was the pattern, and this comes from Nora Waugh's Corsets and Crinolines. And then the other book I've got with a good pattern, variety of shapes, is Period Costume for Stage and Screen by Jean Honeysett. And these are made really for theatre, because it mentions something about using elastic, so they're not accurate like these ones are, but accurate enough. And I couldn't decide which book I wanted to use. This one I think I went the closest, but in the end I opted to cut my own. And I've just used paper on my little half-scale model here, and it needs a few little bits of adjustments, but that's what it looks like so far. So I shall take it off there, have a look at any further adjustments I want to make. I know I've probably changed the placing of the seams and things just to make it how I want it to go, but that's it so far. So I took the paper off the little mannequin, and it was completely different than how I thought it was going to look. And so I did a lot of adjusting, and that's what I've ended up with. Looking back at the pattern that I want to copy the most. And then I made a toile. Thank goodness I did. This is my toile. Funny fabric to do a toile in, but there we go. Looks more Elizabethan, I think. And I think it needs all of this taking out here. But other than that, see, it's not too bad. I do think the front needs to come down lower. The toile, the original pattern, it was lower, and in this picture it's very long front. But that's my toile. I will adjust it. It's just this piece here that needs adjusting. A lot taken out, well, a few centimetres taken out of the middle there. And then I shall cut it out of my fabric and sew it together with lots and lots of boning channels. Having adjusted the pattern, do you remember I had to take some fabric out of this front piece here? I then cut it out in the fabric, giving a centimetre seam allowance on all the seams, except top and bottom. This is going to be bound, so I didn't need to put a seam allowance here or here. And then I sewed all the channels with machine, and you can see all those lines. And where the stitching started and stopped in the middle of the pattern piece, I pulled the threads through, and then this side it will be lined, so you won't see all these threads and things. I just wanted to point out that although the seam allowances were 1 centimetre, on this piece, this seam allowance was 2 centimetres, so that I could sew a channel for the eyelets and one for the boning, because this piece will overlap the stomacher like that, and it will lace up with the various eyelets. So after having sewn all the boning channels, I got myself some zip ties. This is just a regular zip tie, and easy to cut with a pair of ordinary scissors to the right length to fit in the channels, and I've pushed those in quite easily, so that's a nice smooth line ready to bind later on. Now all these seam allowances now need to be sewn flat with a whip stitch. Okay, so now I have whip stitched all of the seams down. I now need to sew them together, and this is what it'll look like when it's sewn together. And using a curious stitch that I've come across recently, you put the right sides together in exactly the place where you want them to go. And I've got a buttonhole thread here, it's very strong, and I'm using double. Start off with your knot inside. Just start these off by attaching them at the top, and then I'll show you this funny stitch. So, making sure they're absolutely straight. Take your needle, see this up close, take your needle from the inside to the outside. A bit more light there. Light stay. So from the inside to the outside. Inside to the outside, and it looks like sort of like a little plait when it's done. And it's a really, really strong way of fixing the two panels together, but also so that it's flat. Here at the bottom, I'm just going to go over and over and do a little knot, to do my knots. Okay, so at the moment I'm carrying on with my binding. You saw the quick video I did of the binding of the top. And now I'm doing the bottom with all these very annoying little tags. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how I've hand stitched these little tiny eyelet holes. I've made the marks where I want them to go, and with my tool which I think is Victorian. Anyway, I've always known it as a stiletto. I don't know, it's a bit rusty. I don't know what other names they have them as, but it's so that you can make a hole without cutting the fabric, because then it frays. But you have to use a bit of force and wait till you've got a size that you think is about right. And that will probably do. And I'm using double thread. And I'm going to come in from the back and find the hole. Put my needle through the hole. And then I'm going to go around the hole twice, putting my needle in just a little bit further away than the hole, about a millimetre I guess, and pull it tight. And as you can see, I've been round twice, and that's pretty secure. So I'll just finish off. Just do a quick knot. So there we go. Final corset.